Let's talk about the game that we're all here for. The reason we even had to pack a bag in the first place. Again, that is Super Bowl 60 right here from Santa Clara. We're kicking things off today with that. Before the season started, no one would have predicted the Seahawks and Patriots would be playing in the Super Bowl. Seattle bet on the continued emergence of Sam Darnold, of course. Meanwhile, the Patriots turned things around in Mike Vrabel's first year as head coach behind MVP-worthy year from Drake Maye. This was yesterday from Stephen A.
Drake Maye's playing with house money. When you look at him being in the second year in the league, then winning 14 games, clearly led by their defense, that being sort of reminiscent of what it was like when Tom Brady first took over, going up against Seattle's defense might be asking a bit too much. If you lose, if you win, wow, you pulled that off. Sky's the limit. But he has very little to lose and an extraordinary amount to gain.
Okay, he didn't stutter. You think Drake Maye's playing with house money, Dio?
Absolutely not. And that's an outrageous statement for a person that has made a living talking about sports and players and capitalizing on moments. One, Dan Marino made it at 23, never got back. Jared Goff made it at 24, hasn't been back. Joe Burrow made it at 25, hasn't been back. Cam Newton made it at 26, never got back. Steve McNair made it at 26, never got back. How many opportunities are you actually going to get to win the Super Bowl? We've talked about, and I find it fascinating that people all offseason or all postseason, and fairly so, have said, well, Josh Allen, and I heard Cam Jordan talk about it yesterday, and thank God, Cam, I wasn't on the show because I was going to say some things respectfully. Lamar's not in it. Joe's not in it. Patrick's not in it. Josh Allen missed his opportunity. Well, they're not in it for Drake Maye as well. And to sit here and think that just because Drake has gotten here in year 2 and he's just going to get back there and there's going to be more opportunities for this football team and this quarterback is an outrageous thing to say for a person who's been covering the NFL as long as you.
First of all, I don't give a damn that you think it's outrageous. That's number one.
Yes, you do.
Number two, yeah, I don't. Number two, it's not outrageous. Number three, if you're talking about the collective whole in terms of the New England Patriots missing out on an opportunity because there's no guarantee that they'll get back, that's fine. That's how you were looking at it. That's your perspective. The lens that I was looking through is how we'll look at Drake Maye individually as a quarterback ascending in the National Football League.
Maybe right now.
Don't give me no maybes.
Maybe right now.
I'll let you speak. Don't give me no maybes. I mean, it's not maybes. You had your perspective that you walked into it with it. I had mine. I'm looking at the New England Patriots team that's allowed 8.7 points per game in these playoffs. I'm looking at the New England Patriots team that's been a top 5 defense this year. I'm looking at them and I'm saying to myself, this defense, based on what we saw in the playoffs against the Chargers, against the Houston Texans, against the Denver Broncos, all who were hobbled offensively, and the New England Patriots defense took advantage of it. I'm saying, okay, now you got a Seattle Seahawks team. That may not necessarily be the case. You might run into a juggernaut because everybody, most people anyway, believe that Seattle is the better team, and the expectation is that they'll win. So how will we look at Drake Maye? If Drake Maye comes out there and they perform well, he performs well, if they don't win the Super Bowl, okay, fine. But you're still looking at Drake Maye at a very lofty position. You hold him in high regard if he performs well, even if they don't lose this game. That's all I was talking about. It wasn't about win or losing the game itself. It was about him.
I actually used this statement when talking about Drake Maye last week. They just didn't make it one of the topics because I said it, not Stephen A.
Really?
But I said this exact same thing last week because I think it's the true definition of playing with house money. He has nothing to prove, nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Drake Maye, if Drake Maye, I'm with you. If Drake Maye doesn't win this game, we don't look at Drake Maye in any way and say to ourselves, he can't be a great quarterback going forward. We don't look at him and say he can't provide MVP caliber play. What you're saying is something totally different outside of Drake Maye. You're talking about a team accomplishment. I remember we went to the Super Bowl in 2008, and William Gay was on the team, and he was a rookie, and he said to me afterwards, we're going to do this every year. That's not the way it happens.
Sure.
But the same way, whether it's Ben Roethlisberger who goes young, whether it's Tom Brady who goes young, you can work your way to other opportunities. He doesn't have to be Jared Goff. He doesn't have to be Cam Newton. He doesn't have to be Joe Burrow. It's about what we say about him when or if he wins this game, who Drake Maye becomes, and what there is for him to acquire in playing this game. But as far as playing with house money, he's ahead of schedule. He's an MVP candidate, and he's playing against a team in the Seattle Seahawks that the roster is better. So if Drake May comes out of this as a loser, if Drake May doesn't play well, we still walk into next season speaking of him more highly than anyone he's drafted with and putting him in a conversation behind the big four in the AFC.
But that's a completely different comment than playing with house money. I just rattled off all these quarterbacks that got to the Super Bowl within their first year or two in the NFL, 3 years in the NFL, and they didn't get back. And then that's always held against them. That's always we talk about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
It's always held against. It's held against Dan Marino. They never got back.
Absolutely.
No, it isn't. We hold it against Don Shula. We hold it against Don Shula and the Miami Dolphins defense that never existed. We don't hold it against him.
We do say Dan Marino, but he never won.
Exactly.
But he never won the big game.
We do it right now with two guys that are the back-to-back MVP winners, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. We say, well, you haven't won the Super Bowl yet. We do that with these guys. And so to sit here and talk about a young quarterback.
But we say they haven't been to a Super Bowl.
They haven't. They've never been to a Super Bowl, right? Because here's the difference between that. Let's think about that. The way you talk about Joe Burrow. Yeah. The way you speak about Joe Burrow, part of that is because he beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship and made it to a Super Bowl. We don't talk about Josh and Lamar in that way, and both of those guys have won MVPs. Right. The conversation around them is never making it, is never finding a way to get their team to the promised land despite stellar individual play. So he's definitely playing with house money from our perceptions as well.
Yeah, but neither of those guys are the sole well, I would say this. Josh isn't the sole reason that his team didn't get into the Super Bowl in the past. Maybe this past year against Denver, yes. Yeah. Lamar had not his best performances in the playoffs in comparison to the regular season. But we have evidence for quarterbacks that have been outstanding early in their career. They get to the Super Bowl, they never get back, and it's always a conversation of, well, you didn't get it done or you didn't get back and you didn't win it. Also, the New England Patriots this year, since 1970, for a team that made the Super Bowl, it's the third easiest strength of schedule ever. Next year, they go to Chicago, to Kansas City, to Detroit, to the Chargers, to Seattle, to Jacksonville. Mind you, they play Denver and Green Bay at home. It's a very different road for this football team next year.
All right.
Very different.
But again, if I get where you're coming from, if you're simply talking about, listen, you're looking at the team and you're saying you may never get back here again. I'm saying we were talking about the individual that is Drake May in his second year, who was an MVP candidate. It was an MVP candidate. You get the team to the Super Bowl. If you show up and you perform well, but for some reason this defense that has neutralized everybody else they faced in the postseason can't do that against Seattle, and you miss out. We're not looking at Drake May with any kind of negativity. We're looking at him. There's going to be expectations. There's going to be anticipation that his future is going to be very bright because he has shown us he can really, really ball. I was answering the question in that regard. I wasn't looking at it, like, you don't win the Super Bowl, you may never get back again. I'm looking at him as an individual in terms of